Right now, like when the blockchain hype started, there was some sort of shift between separate routes of engineering to full stack. Most of the time, people are looking for full stack development, which includes both front end, back end, and blockchain, which is either like Solidity or Solana or any other blockchain techniques. What are your thoughts about it? Because when you got too many things, it's becoming obvious that you're not good at one, but you have like sort of understanding about everything in a mid level.
For sure. I mean, I think full stack engineers is the model that I really like. I think even with full stacks, you often have people like specializing in one area of the stack. Like maybe you're a full stack engineer, but you lean front end or you lean back end. I mean, I think it's often that full stack engineers tend to lean more front end. Um, but I think, it's okay if you're not an expert at everything. I think if you are working on a project or in a team that's trying to deliver something, there's always ways to like upskill yourself and the team. And so I think, yeah, obviously it is a lot to learn. And often like, in my own experience when hiring full stack engineers, I don't need them to be like an expert in everything, just like have some fundamental knowledge of the basics of all of the different areas so that like if we do need them, if it's a full stack engineer and they typically have worked on front end, but this new project has a big kind of like solidity component, I want to be confident that they have enough fundamentals that they can get spun up quickly and become like more of an expert in the area that we need them to. Because like I think it's easier to work with people that are flexible and able to learn quickly. And I think as a full stack engineer, like that's a very essential skill is to be able to learn quickly. Like even just front end alone changes so quickly. New React versions, Next.js, server side rendering. And so, each project is going to look different. Even if it's a team of 4 people, like they might be super focused on the front end for one project, but then it's like a lot of back end work and Solidity work for the other. And so, like, having a team that is able to kind of like self organize and swarm on different areas of the stack, I think is extremely useful.
And what about location? Like, starting from your part, like when you started to jump on this hype train of blockchain, you've been in US, right? You've been in New York.
Yes. I started in the US when I like started off my career. And these days, I mean, even in my early days, as I was saying before, like was always interested in like remote work and digital nomadism. And so that was one of the things that really attracted me to Consensus. Like it was a remote company back in 2016, 2017, when like very, very few companies were fully remote. Um, and so yeah, like, have based out of New York for like basically the entirety of my career, but have been able to kind of like move around.
And what about now? Do you still keeping this remote mode or you become more hybrid or on-site only?
So we're still fully remote. Absolutely no plans to change that. I think one of the things that we have learned over the last almost 10 years of being a remote first company is that it helps if teams are geographically co-located in the sense that like, I've worked on teams with like people on 3 or 4 different continents. And at a certain point, it gets a little bit hard to, work effectively and manage a team in that scenario just because, like if one team member to the other has like a 10-hour time difference, it gets really hard to like plan any sort of like synchronous ceremonies or meetings that you want to do. And obviously like I'm a big fan of async work and collaboration. Um, but I don't think that I don't think it's as effective to only work asynchronously. And like in these cases where the difference is so large, either like one person's kind of work hours have to suffer or you have to have like a fully asynchronous model, which I don't think is like the right way. So like what we do at like MetaMask, for example, is yeah, so we have like 3 to 4 core working hours a day. You're basically like, that's when stand-up meetings will fall or grooming meetings. Um, and, like it's not that you have to be on meetings all the time or like constantly on Slack in those hours, but it's just that like the expectation is that you're available in case, there's stand-ups
Yep.
or like an ad hoc design meeting or whatever it is. And then, the rest of the day it's like if you like to work between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m., like I don't really mind. It's really like the rest of the day you can structure it however you like. It's just that like if there's meetings or things that we need to like do synchronously at that time, you're available for that.
Yeah, but still the problem is not a problem, but the preferred time zones are either US most of the time for the development teams, right? Either US or like in Europe, but they're preferred like to be like couple of hour, like minimum hour of difference between like US based team and the Europe team.
Yeah, I would say generally that's the case. Just because like most of the core like of all of our engineering teams is in the US. But like some teams do have like a European core. Like a lot of teams within Linnea, for example, are like heavily based out of like France and Germany. And so obviously for those kind of teams, like it might not, they probably wouldn't want to hire someone from, West Coast US. I mean, even East Coast US, it's a little bit challenging, but probably doable. And then they can kind of go farther west into like Europe or like Eastern Asia or Western Asia.
Yeah. Yeah. Why I started to ask it because yeah, we had a case. I mean, even me, I applied for the consensus, and not only consensus, but like I did a small survey in Middle East, and turns out that's a big issue for a lot of developers. Not only related for the consensus, but overall, if someone want to work with the big tech companies, most of the time those companies are preferred either West Europe or US only.